All right. Welcome to the Octane Community Stand-Up for April 1st. Um, I have a few items on the agenda. Wanted to briefly talk about the MVP Summit that I attended last week. I can give some release updates on the Octane releases that have happened in the last month. Talk a bit about roadmap, a little bit about events, an announcement, and Lee Pointer has offered to do a demonstration. So I'm going to reserve a fair bit of time for that. And then if we have time for discussions at the end, um, I think so. I'll also mention like the last community stand up. I changed the Microsoft Teams configuration so that everyone who attends has the ability to actually unmute and ask questions or provide feedback. It'd be probably best to save that kind of interaction till the end, but I just wanted to remind people that they do have the ability to participate in these meetings. So MVP Summit happened last week in Redmond, Washington, like at Microsoft headquarters. I've been to a lot of MVP Summits over the years. This one was interesting in the sense that Microsoft always uses these summit events as sort of a precursor to the larger build event that usually happens in June or May to kind of reveal information about the products and capabilities that they're going to release over the coming year. And so they did do that, of course. But what I really liked about this MVP Summit, it was quite unscripted in some ways and quite candid in the conversations because Microsoft, I think, the same way that we all have experienced this, past year, there's been a huge change when it comes to software development, particularly with the release of Claude Opus 4.5, which was like November, December timeframe. All of a sudden, all those conversations about the capabilities of AI actually became real. And so you saw like the quality of the output from from AI increased dramatically to the point where, it resembles the source code that an actual human would write. And as a result of that, it's created a whole lot of interesting opportunities for developers, right? You can, if you basically learn how to direct the AI appropriately, you can kind of multitask now and generate code and basically, 3 or 4x the amount of output that you can produce as a software developer. So it's pretty powerful. And Microsoft itself recognized this in November, December kind of timeframe as well. And they've been adapting and starting to adopt practices internally to use these tools more effectively for generating code, basically adapting their whole workflows. So it was interesting hearing directly from, the engineers from Microsoft and how they're using the technology, hearing from like other MVPs how they're using it. So it's a very, I guess, disruptive time, but also like an exciting time in terms of new opportunities. So that's what I kind of took away from the MVP Summit. There were also a lot of other interesting sessions. Like one in particular was by Dan Roth. He covered the .NET 11 roadmap, which included Blazor and other Microsoft technologies. You can follow along publicly on the GitHub issue that's here, where all of the items that are expected to be included in .NET 11 are documented. And that list of features, I talked about this last month, and there's more items on the list now. Things are becoming a lot more clear. So if you want to check that out, you should go check out that issue on GitHub. In particular, there were some items that Dan talked about at the summit, which I hadn't heard about previously. One of them was that static server-side rendering in Blazor is going to get feature parity with MVC. So that because there was a number of capabilities that MVC had, like because MVC's been around for probably 15 years now, that hadn't yet been added to Blazor. My personal opinion, it feels like where this is going is, Microsoft, of course, wants to reduce the number of frameworks that they need to maintain. And so by adding feature parity to Blazor for the server-side rendering, it means that, probably at some point in the future, MVC will be able to be deprecated, right? And so that they can focus on Blazor because then it has all of the capabilities of MVC plus all the additional capabilities that Blazor has to offer. So it becomes sort of like the one framework to solve all the problems, which is great. I mean, that's great for Oqtane. It's great for developers that are using Blazor. It was kind of the path that Microsoft laid out, like quite a number of years ago when it started Blazor, was this sort of unification of UI frameworks. And so it's great to see that they're continuing on this path. And there still are a lot of developers that are out there that seem to be resistant to using Blazor. They seem more familiar with MVC, and they cite some of these like missing features as the reason why they won't move to Blazor. But they'll like that argument will no longer hold water with .NET 11. It sounds like so. It's good to be a Blazor developer and good to be an Oqtane developer. Also on the list was framework support for per-page JavaScript. Obviously, Octane's had to solve this problem in its own ways, and it has like a number of different ways that it's accomplished this. It's used, third-party NuGet packages from McKinnon Buck, which solves this problem. I created a solution for this as well, called Blazor Page Script. It'll be interesting to see how Microsoft provides a solution for this. And this is like around the server-side rendering, render mode, and the fact that, with enhanced navigation, JavaScript just doesn't work as you would expect for like most web developers, and you kind of have to work around it in a number of different ways. So it'll be great if Microsoft comes up with a solution for this that is, more in the box and doesn't require as much customization. All right, so release updates. In the past month, there was a 10.1.1 release. That was released on March 6th, at the beginning of the month. It had a modest number of pull requests and commits in it. Most of the work that was in 10.1.1 was to resolve like issues that were introduced in 10.1.0. Like 10.1.0 was a very substantial release. It had a ton of functionality in it, all around like content localization, content staging. Like it had a huge number of features that were part of it, and so some of those features needed to be fully stabilized, and so that was the bulk of the fixes that were done in 10.1.1. And there was one item in particular which was kind of annoying, and that the add page capability from the control panel was broken, unfortunately, in 10.1.0. There was still a way to add a page if you went through page management, but the way that most people do it is through the control panel, and so that issue was kind of serious and needed to be fixed. 10.1.2 was released this past week. It was again a minor maintenance release, fixing a few additional issues that had come up since the release of 10.1.0. So that was released on March 26th, 10 pull requests, 20 commits, and focus on stabilization. I guess the other notable thing about 10.1.2 is it was updated to the latest .NET SDK. So that's the 10.05 SDK. If you're following along with the .NET core framework itself, you'll notice that Microsoft puts out SDK releases usually every month, and often they put out new releases and mark the previous releases as having security vulnerabilities, and so what looked like happened, which I'm not 100% sure on, but the previous Oqtane 10.1.0 was based on .NET SDK 10.03. 10.04 was released by Microsoft, but then subsequently replaced within 24 hours by 10.05. So there must have been a fairly major issue that was identified immediately once the 10.04 was released, and then so they released a 10.05. But anyways, it's always good to keep up with the latest SDKs so that you are fully protected and have all of the latest security vulnerabilities patched. And so that's why with Oqtane, we try to release Oqtane itself every month so that we keep up with the SDKs. And so Oqtane itself is always like fully protected from security issues. All right, roadmap. Last month, I mentioned that the theme for the next major release, so 10.2, would be scale out. This has been on the roadmap for quite a while, probably 2 or 3 years. And I guess I wanted to provide a little bit more detail about that. So I put together a diagram and posted this in the discussions in the repo so that people had an idea of what I mean by scale out architecture. Um, and so this is sort of outlining the high level of how it's expected to be implemented, the advantages of taking this approach, and then the challenges, meaning like the things that need to be changed in the current version of Oqtane in order to support this scale out architecture. So the items on that list are caching, because right now we're using the memory cache that's just a local cache to the web application, and so we need to use a distributed cache. Um, Scheduled jobs right now are designed to run on like within the web application within the deployment. And if you have multiple web instances for scaling purposes, you don't need to run the scheduled jobs on all of them. In fact, you don't want to run them on all of them usually. So you would need a way to be able to specify that a scheduled job should only run on one of the web instances. Logging needs to be enhanced so that you know like where that specific workload was executed, like on which web instance. And then the way that Oqtane works around when you install, new modules or themes, and you need to restart the application. It's not a matter of just restarting one application, right? You need to restart all of the web instances that are part of the scale out infrastructure. And you need to do that kind of concurrently so that they're all synchronized. Another part of this is the folder provider. This is not like based on this architecture. The content files can continue to exist in a shared storage location. That's one of the advantages of using kind of this architectural approach. However, there are scenarios where you would want the content files to be stored externally somewhere else. And so this is an additional enhancement that could be added to also support scale out to even a greater extent than just the items that I listed above here as challenges. And so, yeah, this is the plan for 10.2. There's quite a number of changes that need to be implemented to achieve this, but I'm pretty confident that we can get that done within the next quarter. Yeah, so in terms of the roadmap, the latest release is 10.12. 10.2 is going to be released sometime in Q2, meaning like sometime probably not in April, but like May, June probably. So, and that'll be more of a major release because those are some fairly substantial enhancements that will need to be made to the framework to support that. All right, events. So I think I mentioned last month that I was going to be presenting a webinar on interactive Blazor and .NET Identity. That was largely based on the learnings from implementing passkey support and other types of identity features in Oqtane, because Oqtane has its own user interface using interactive Blazor for the .NET Identity, which is different than, of course, .NET Identity itself. The UI that it scaffolds is based on static Blazor components. And so as a result of that, when you're using like the standard Blazor web application template, you sort of if you decide that you want to have a fully interactive, like globally interactive Blazor application, but you're using .NET Identity, you can't because like part of your application is going to be static at that point. Just that's the way that Microsoft implemented it. I don't agree with that approach, and of course, Oqtane didn't follow that approach and has done it differently. So that if you have a fully interactive Blazor application that's using Oqtane, even .NET Identity itself is using interactive rendering. So anyways, the recording for that is available on the DevEssence YouTube channel. And so if you didn't get a chance to watch the webinar, anyone can watch that recording. I mentioned this last month as well, so we're going to have a Trailblazer conference this year. We've had two previous Trailblazer conferences, one in 2024 and one in 2025. We've chosen the date. It's going to be on June 18th, 2026, which is a Thursday. The website has been updated to reflect the new date. While I was at the MVP Summit, I spoke to Daniel Roth, and he's confirmed to be the keynote speaker and talk about .NET 11 and Blazor and all the latest cool stuff. I also talked with a number of other folks from Microsoft, so we're going to probably be able to have representation from the Aspire team, from .NET MAUI, and from there's also a number of MVPs that I spoke to as well. So I'm hoping to put together a pretty decent speaker list again for this event. As everyone knows, it's a free event. And I guess one of the things I was thinking about with Trailblazer is that like it originated as a more of a Blazor, I guess, a Blazor focused event. But there's so much cool stuff going on with .NET that I think we sort of evolved it last year to incorporate MAUI, Copilot, and a few other topics. And so we're going to continue with that trend and really focus on new and creative and innovative things that are happening in the Microsoft ecosystem. So there still will be a Blazor focus, but there'll be a whole lot of other interesting Microsoft-based technologies and approaches that'll be covered in the Trailblazer event as well. So excited about that. Okay, so announcement. As I mentioned off the top, the ability to generate code using AI is pretty incredible. And so I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking that in the agentic era, right, the choice of language or framework isn't all that important anymore because you basically are just directing an AI agent saying, hey, implement this functionality that I want. And so it doesn't really matter what language it's in anymore. So looking at sort of the ecosystems that exist today, React.js is super popular. It seems to be growing much faster than Angular and others. And the LLMs are super good at generating JavaScript code. So I was kind of working on a functional prototype to convert Oqtane from Blazor to React. And that's actually gone pretty well. So I have a pretty functional prototype at this point. The only downside to this change is that it's going to be a breaking change for all third-party modules, unfortunately. So I'm sure people are going to have some feedback on this, but I think it's a really exciting change. And of course, that's April Fool's because it's April 1st today, and I can't resist. My daughter.
That was nasty. That was really nasty.
So my daughter tricked me this morning, and it reminded me it was April Fool's. She always seems to trick me on April Fool's Day, so I thought it'd be appropriate to add that today. But yes, we're not going to react. Definitely not. In fact, I posted something on LinkedIn earlier this week, it was earlier this week, that I like when you're building, even with AI, humans need to review the code. You can't trust the code that's produced. You need to actually review it, of course. And so, if I asked an AI agent to produce React code, I wouldn't be able to appropriately review it, right? So the choice of language and framework still matters from a developer perspective. All right, so that's good. I've only took 20 minutes. So I would like to hand over the presentation to Lee at this point so that he can talk a bit about his Oqtane AI Playbook, which he's been working on for quite some time. And there's been a lot of interesting posts about it. So I think in order to do this, Lee, I have to right click on you and say, wow, how can I make you the presenter? Let's see here. Can you try to, do you have the present button at all?
The share button to be activated, and that's down to you.
It's not there? Okay.
No, it's there, but it's disabled.
Ah, here we go. Make presenter. Perfect.
Right. share this one, I think.
All right. We can see your
Got that?
slides. Yep, we got it. Thank you.
Okay. So basically, I've been sitting down and working on modules and using AI. And every time I asked the AI to do something, it would come back and it would do it completely different every single time. So that's why I discovered, this thing called the AI governance. And to control that, you have to create some like documents. I guess you could call them skills, or you can call them rules or whatever. But basically, you're telling the AI how to govern itself inside the the development area. So I mean, the AI is really, really powerful, but the thing is, it's got no control. It'll just go off and in tangent and produce what it thinks is correct. So I think I can just come up with this now. If I go here, right? Can you see this? The
Yep.
GitHub,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So this is just documentation, and it's taken me ages to do. And basically, the Oqtane AI playbook is what Oqtane does and how Oqtane works. So inside here we have documents about module adoption, onboarding, scripting, foundation services, authorization, migrations. And basically, this is what Oqtane expects the module to do. Now, if you ask an AI to migrate your database, you'll have some real fun there because it doesn't know what to do. So from these documents here, you produce it's called the module playbook example. An example is because it's always, you can use it right now, but you can extend it, you can add to it or whatever. But these are the rules. So this is what the AI actually reads. So the governance.
So Lee, is it okay if I interrupt with just one
Yeah,
thing?
sure.
So this was something that actually came up at the MVP summit. I noticed that you're using VS Code, or actually,
Yeah.
you're actually within. Are you just within GitHub here?
I'm in GitHub, but
Okay.
I use everything.
Okay.
I
Yeah. So
I've
this was
used
the
this.
point I was going to make. Is like for those of us that have been comfortable using Visual Studio for a long time, what you end up using when you're developing with AI is a lot of different tools.
Yeah,
You can't always do it all in one place like you're used to. So you end up
no,
using a bit of GitHub, a bit of VS Code, a bit of Visual Studio, like all for different purposes. So go
yeah,
ahead, carry on.
yeah. So yeah, I found out when I'm because this is constant. This is a fluid playbook. I mean, it's never going to be static because as soon as Octane changes, this changes. It's like last release we had something about site tasks. So there I was. I came back. I went to the documents here, and I wrote something about site tasks. So this is all about site tasks now. So these are the rules behind site tasks, and this is how Octane works. So with that, I have to tell now the AI how to work with tasks. So in the playbook, in the governance, we have tasks. Now I can ask it to create me, say, a scheduled thing, but the AI now can be a bit more be a bit more clever and see if it needs to do an actual scheduled task, hit a job, or a site task, and it will choose the correct one for you. Rather than if you say ask it to create you a scheduled job, it will start creating adding things to you. There's the program CS file. It will start modifying Octane, and these are the things that the AI is not allowed to do. So this is where the AI gets a boundary saying you can use Octane to look up things or look how things are being how it all works, but you cannot change that code. So it will use it as a point of reference, and it actually does in this playbook. It will go and have a look at the examples, well, the templates to see how things are being saved. The idea of how the UI is all constructed. So it's not going to create like hairy fairy different types of input or output. But this is where it all starts to get funny. Great, is when you have it inside your solution. Right. So this is one solution. Let me go ahead and show you how to set it up. So this is normally how your Oqtane would look. So you've got an Oqtane framework and a module. There's no playbook in here. So you'd go to the GitHub and you'd get the latest release and just take it as a read file, or you can clone it. And then you'd have a solution like this. And this is the playbook. And here's the module playbook. Now, the thing is, for GitHub, for Copilot to understand these files, it needs them in the solution. And that's a pain in the neck to have them all referenced. So you take this file here, and we put it into into the project, into this. And here it is. And then we run that. This will pull all the files into the solution. And here's Oqtane. Right, Oqtane is completely added here because now the AI can see it. This is GitHub Copilot, and these are the startup files. And this is the governance. Excuse me. And here are some prompts. These could be skills, and you can add these in there, and the Copilot will learn it. So if I say, read Oqtane book. What happens here is it reads, it's reading the active document, but it should read a Copilot instructions here. No, it's wrong. I've found today that the net is very slow on the LLMs.
So in your development environment, you're basically saying, like, read the governance and follow these rules.
Yeah.
Like this is sort of providing a bunch of context.
If we have a look at if we have a look at the instructions, basically a Copilot always starts with this. So this is how Copilot works. But I found out with using other AIs like Claude, or on the desktop, just typing in there saying, look, follow the governance, and then showing it the solution file and saying, read all these files, and it'll go through and read them. So look, here we are. Now it's got he's picked it up. Yeah, that's very slow, but now you can say things like add field to the edit component. Oh gosh, it's pretty good at spell check, this thing as well. Edit razor and migrate to the database a field called counter which is an int.
Yeah,
So
this is one thing that AI, like, because it's text based, it's not super friendly for doing demos, is it?
no, and the thing is, although you get used to it, but you think, oh well, I can do that faster, right?
Yeah.
But you're good. This it does it produces the same thing, the same results again and again and again, and the rules are being followed. Whereas I've done this personally. I've gone in, I've done the migrations, and I forgot to change the release version number version. Yeah, and then you're running it, and you think, well, why hasn't the migrations happened? But
Right.
see what it's doing here now. It's creating that just that one field. And it's is it creating a plan first? I don't know. It should run an agent. Yeah. So
Right. So it's like it can actually do an incredible amount of work, right?
yeah,
Just by giving it a very basic command because you've given it all the rules and kind of context for how Octane works.
yeah, yes. So now it's gone and read all the documents, and now it's I should think it's populating the stuff now. Well, if we have a look, there's the add column. It will sort all these errors out, and we see that it's updated the version number. There's the small build number.
Right. So a lot of the little gotchas, right, that
Yes,
catch
yes, and these are the things.
developers.
If you're
Yeah.
expecting the AI to do this for you, I mean, it's not. And you'd be prompting and prompting and prompting, undoing, undoing, and doing, prompting again, and it still wouldn't find out how to do it. The other
Yeah, because
thing
there's
is, I've
certain
got,
conventions in Octane that are not well documented, right? You have to kind of understand
yeah,
how modules are built, right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
and that's when it comes. That's when you have a look at what's in here. Boy, I tell you, it's taken me some time, right? All this. I mean, these are, and these get tweaked again occasionally as well. Module adoption. This was a good one. Um, Onboarding scripts. Yeah, I've got. I mean, these rules are pretty powerful as well. Localization. Seriously, it will go through and it will take all your English text, it will convert it to the language you want it in, and it'll put it in the resource file for you. Plus, it will do all the where is it? It'll do all this for you,
wow,
and it'll
yeah,
create all that for you, all the shared and the yeah. I mean, the time saving is amazing in some things like this. Runtime awareness is pretty cool as well. So you know, trying to find out what version of look here. So in 10+1, you can use iTask, but if you're running an earlier version, then it won't prompt you to have site tasks. Things about startup registrations, scheduled jobs we've spoken about.
yeah. I think
Um,
the thing that I find is interesting is it like the level of detail in your like your markup or markdown files. It's almost like a set of documentation that you would hand over to a junior developer, right, on a new project and say, these are the things that you're going to need to learn
yeah,
to be effective in developing for this platform.
yeah.
But you're
So
giving that to AI instead.
yeah. So the other thing is like the common things is like I want to add Radson, right? I want to add Fluent AI or Mud Blazer. You can ask it now to add the latest version of Mud to my module, and when it does that, it will go through and fix the debug file. It will put the package references in. It will add the scopes. See all this? It does it all for you,
Yep.
and then you're not going to, and it's going to make sure that it packs it properly for you as well. So in your package file, it will do all the new spec. So how we got here? Look, here we are. It's added the field, added the counter field, updated the code, done the save. Let's have a look at the migration. Sorry. Here's the new migration file we saw.
Added the field.
Um,
Yeah.
So it's done quite a bit. Oh, here's the
If you highlight the Get Changes tab, does it have a whole list of all the things, all the files in there?
yeah.
So okay, like those are all the things that it.
Yeah, and there's the added thing to the. But you can also. I did another thing today added to the framework to the playbook was that if you want to interject a new module, so if you want to have another module here, then that onboarding is done through. Oh, I think I've got a prompt. So, prompts. Yeah. So this is what it does. And these are the commands that the AI will read this and it will follow it.
Yeah, and I think that that's the other interesting thing is you, as a human, you don't need to learn a whole new sort of set of commands that you
No,
type into, like to instruct the AI what to do. You just give it like what, as if you were talking to another person.
correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you keep it down to a minimum. You don't have to go into great big details and whirly words and stuff like that. It just needs the bulk standard stuff. And if it doesn't know, it's got the right to go into Octane and have a look around. So that's why that startup thing sets up your whole project. These aren't built. You don't need to build these, so it's not going to upset your build times or anything. It's just there as point of reference. And I found it's a lot faster for it to go and scan those things. And it knows it's not going to touch the Octanes. It's been forbidden to go anywhere near these. And I think that's in the old rules. Yeah. But
Yeah, so it's so how many, I don't know, it's probably hard to do this, but I am curious how many folks are already already using AI tooling to try and like to generate code at this point, or is some of what Lee's describing here like completely new? You've never seen this before yet.
I mean, a lot of people have the misconception that this is going to like speed up development. It's going to do all the whiz bang. What this does is it governs how the AI acts when creating modules, which is really important. Because if you don't have any governance, then what happens is the AI just goes erratic.
Right. Yeah,
I
that
mean,
was definitely something that was discussed at the MVP summit is like you really can't trust because yeah, they'll go
so
off and do
yeah.
things that you don't expect. Yeah.
So if we go off to this, let's go into the other project here, and see what happens when you put the same thing in. This is an empty module, right? It'd be great if it just does it.
Well, and I think that the other thing is like, so you gave it an instruction and it
Yeah, here's the
generated a whole
instruction.
bunch
Add a
of
field to the
code.
edit razor and see what it does.
Okay. But so you gave it an instruction, it generated a lot of code that all
Yeah.
looked like fairly good, but like it doesn't always work the first time, right? You still may have to do some debugging or, there still may be compilation errors, there still may be errors that you have to deal with,
Yes.
but it's still gotten you like 90% of the way, which is huge.
It has put code inside your model. You're going to have to check it.
Yep.
So what has it done here? He's added a counter. Oh shit! I didn't add that to the. It's going to do. Is it doing it? This one isn't in there. No.
So you're using Copilot within Visual Studio
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
and which Which model are you? Do you
That's
like
that's, that's Claude Sonnet
it is Claude
4.5.
Sonnet. Okay.
Yeah. I found that there's you can get the same results, well, similar results. I don't know what it's doing here, but it's doing something. Is it trying to? So I don't know. I have no idea what's going on here.
And so that's the other part of AI,
Yeah,
right? Is you
I mean
sometimes have to
it's
correct it
done
and say,
the
don't do that.
yeah it's done the UI bit, which is normal. I would expect it to do that. But as far as the so it's done a migrations file as well. Or is that just Claude being just smart? Because I don't know if like because it's my account, it's crossing over, or it's the information's being shared. That looks pretty good, doesn't it? Yeah, it's done exactly the same. That's really cool, and that's without the playbook in there, so it's learned. Because believe you me, if you did that to your to a solution now, that would not work. What else is it? No. Okay. Well, that was an empty one, and this is building now. So, I mean, the prompts are really handy. Oh, date the date time one was a funny one I had. I was working on a module and it kept on like storing different dates. So now I've got it to make sure that the date time is UTC now and UTC local. And the other thing was it, randomly the AI would actually save the converted date to the database, which was really annoying. So now it forbids it to do that, trying to keep the one point of truth and keeping that on the server. This was another one. This is very handy to do the concurrency to stop people overwriting each other's data. So it follows this rule. If you want to make sure that you've got multi users. So there's any questions? I mean, this is ongoing. I've got yeah, I change. I'm modifying it every day. I mean, this is because as you build modules, you find out there's another little thing that's niggly, and the AI will do it incorrectly. So you just have to.
And that, like right now, this is an open source project that you created.
Yeah.
And like so, and you like you're saying, all of these like this knowledge base of like markdown files is getting larger and larger as you
Yeah.
work through it.
Yeah. But
Well, and
they're
that's
all
a good point too, because when you're loading up the context with a bunch of different pieces of information, you kind of have to be careful of how much you're loading in and how much you're using. And one of the ways to help it regulate how much it pulls into the conversation is by using skills.
yeah.
And
So
yeah.
this was created way before skills were even like a twinkle in someone's eye. So it was all done by prompts. So yes, you can, and these prompts are basically, yeah, they are like skill like type of stuff. So they're running a skill task. So these could be moved off into a skills folder. No problem. I mean, I've all I'm trying to do at the moment is to try and get a good foundation for the playbook to make sure that the AI is following the correct rules. The restructuring of this can come along later, or it can be moved or copied across to like skills folders. I mean, as you see here,
Yeah, totally.
I've got an Amazon here, Amazon rules. And this is just to show you if you want to do your own, if you want to put other AIs in here, you can. I mean, it'll take all Claude stuff as well. All it needs to do is have the dot Claude, and then it'll follow those rules. So there's it's ready to be expanded, but I've only I only included Amazon because that was something that was I actually used a couple of times as well. So
Yeah, I don't know, Mark, if you want to explain a little bit about skills. Like, this is the thing, this stuff is moving so quickly,
I
and there's
know,
new patterns and like
yeah,
approaches that are emerging
yeah,
that it's hard for developers to keep up. But
Well, that's
yeah,
the great thing is that
yeah,
because it is so fresh, like everything's greenfield, you'll never hear anyone say best practice, right?
right,
Like
no,
we're
absolutely.
all
yeah,
discovering at the same time. And your setup's going to be different than mine. Like I use the or not the enterprise template, but the application template. And
yeah,
so I had to build a skill that would pull in the Octane framework as a reference so that it had more knowledge about,
right.
how the framework works. You're doing it in you not using the thing, using the individual module template. So everybody's desktop's going to look just a little bit different,
Mm, yeah.
and like the best way to um, just spending more time with it and paying attention to what's going on with it is really the only way to keep your head above water and just be ready to throw away whatever your preconceived notions are.
Well, yeah, that's the way of working. But the thing is, at the end of the day, these documents here, the stuff that's the Octane playbook. I mean, this is all Octane. This is how Octane works, right? So that's not going to change. Well, if it does change, or then you modify here and you modify the rules. I mean, um, yeah, but
So if I
and
wanted
how
to
you
use
structure
this, is
that
the
for
best
the
way
AI?
to just clone it into my repo?
Sorry.
If I wanted to use this in my project today, what's my best way to do it?
Right.
Clone it
So
into my repo?
yeah, so you can. I would do this either clone it right into your development folder, like here. Let me show you. So this is Octane. Here I've got the Octane framework, and here's the playbook. Right, that the one we just opened. So if I let's go back to the other one. So this is what it looks like when you've got the playbook in there. So there's the playbook. And if this is your module, you would copy from the working place, the module playbook example. You take this file and you copy that into your module solution folder, and then double click that, and then that will import all the references. Well, all
Okay.
it does is it references the files inside the playbook, the module example here, because these are the things that the AI needs. These files. But you only want them
Gotcha.
in one place. So that's why the setup thing is does all the referencing by paths and stuff.
Yeah, one thing I noticed too is that the CLI, one of the challenges working with Octane is that if like you want to do something like create a module,
Mm,
it the I'm going to call it classic way, normal way,
yeah.
I don't know, is to run the app, right? And then you go into admin and you say
Oh,
create module and it does it. You've got a great approach here, which is like you've given all the instructions to do it.
yeah. I voice
What
search.
I ended up doing was I made a CLI tool
Right.
that does it because the LLMs love CLIs. So once it knows that it has a CLI tool, you can do that as well. And the interesting thing about the CLI conversation is LLMs are not deterministic, right? And so
Right.
you're putting a ton of constraints on it to get it to
This.
do the same thing every time. But if you really want it to do the same thing every time, you can just build a little CLI to do special things and then let it know that the CLI exists and it'll run it.
this MD file here actually creates a module. And it does it by looking at Oqtane, right? Going to the example, the templates, and copying that through and actually running this. So it goes through and it replaces all the names by your, see if that, oh yeah. So it'll do, look, so it's looking for name replacements and stuff. It'll ask you what you want to do. And it will
So
create
it's like code, but it's Markdown.
Yeah, but this is what the AI reads on how to do it. So look, so it's going to get the client reference. It's going to expand this. It's going to replace those names. And this is all what the AI needs to do.
It's great.
And then you'll have a module. So you don't have to start. You can run from your project from here. You can say create me a module, and it'll create you a module in your working folder. Your framework folder.
So if the module template changes in the next version of Octane, you can just tell it, go update this Markdown file to match.
Yeah. But it always uses the for module development, it always uses the example as a source. And then all the MD files are there to to govern it around and how to do things. Like if I ask it now to insert me a job that will update the database, blah blah blah, it will create me a job. It will in the server. But
That's cool.
It's collating, getting all the rules together, because these things sit in our heads, and like if asking AI to do it, it goes off and it thinks it's doing the right thing, but it doesn't know what to do or how to do it. It's just trying to be clever. And this way, with the playbook, it gives it some governance on how things should be done and how they shouldn't be done. Because you could also tell it not to do stuff as well. So
yeah, and Mark, so the current interactive way of creating a module or a theme from within Octane itself, like it was kind of intended to solve a certain scenario, right? Like it ensures that someone at least has a functional Octane installation to start with. And then it puts the files in a certain location so that they build and are copied. But I think that a lot of the ways that people develop are going to change or are changing, and that that approach is not going to be the way that people develop going forward, right? They'll be using CLIs and they'll be using AI and so that interactive approach that we have now will probably become like a legacy approach fairly soon.
Yeah, for sure. And once you get a module or two in your solution, it's easy to say, build another module based on this, this feature spec or whatever.
yeah,
pattern it after the existing one, and it'll just do it, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
lots of pattern matching.
The AI is getting a lot better now. I mean, before, when you go back to like the beginnings, I mean, it was erratic. I mean, it would write stuff all over the place. I mean, I'd ask it to add a library, and then I'd say, where is the library? It's not in my dependencies, but there it was in Oqtane. So, well, hold on a minute, you're not allowed to touch that. So that was before, but now it's getting a lot better.
Yeah, so there's a really good question that was in the chat, and I actually was talking to Michael Washington at the MVP Summit about this, and that is like the current default template for modules tries to include a whole bunch of different scenarios in one module template, right? Things that like anyone might run into, right? But the thing is, you don't need all of that code all the time if you're choosing a specific approach. And so the question is, could AI be used to generate a module that doesn't have Like, what if I just wanted like some components and I didn't even want like a server side or a model? Like,
Yeah,
could it work? Right? Could you say I just want like the front end of a module to be generated?
yeah.
I think it's
Ask Opus. I
possible.
bet it would do it. Yeah, I think it would. I think you'd
I
be
think it would. I
surprised.
think it would do it. I think it would do it. As if you were to, if we were to say, you just wanted a user interface that read something else, a web feed or something, right? Yeah, and because you don't need all the shared stuff, the server stuff, you just need that. So yes, I can't see why it wouldn't do that for you.
And this is where AI is like literally so much more powerful because if you think about how you would have had to do that interactively or even with a CLI, you'd have to add a
Yeah,
whole bunch of parameter switches, right?
yeah,
It's all like to make it deterministic. Whereas
yeah,
if it's just language,
yeah.
you're just talking to it and saying, I want this, but I don't want this. Please
Yeah.
do it.
But also the thing is, the AI is smart. I mean, it does remember stuff. I mean, it takes notes itself. And I mean, before it was doing all this note taking itself, I mean, I had this thing called the the decision timeline, where it would, if it made a mistake and I corrected it, it would put that mistake in the deviations, right? But that's not needed anymore because it learns itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So like we said, this is moving very quickly. And it's in some ways hard to keep up, but like
Yeah,
it's I can't imagine a future that is not very dependent upon AI at this point, right? Like
right.
it just seems like there's a wave coming, and if you
Yeah.
don't figure out how to use these new tools, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you don't govern it, you're going to get you're going to get a lot of applications built very very fast, but not knowing what they're doing or how
Yep.
they're interacting or interacting with businesses frameworks and stuff. I mean, they don't know this, and they need rules, and that's where the governance comes in.
Yeah, I think, and the other thing that this was already touched upon is like most, I think, .NET developers are used to being able to go somewhere and finding a list of best practices, right? This is how you should write your code if you're building an enterprise application. And if you just follow these steps,
Yeah,
you'll be covered. Well, we're in a state now where you're kind of just figuring out the approach that works best for you. Like even at the folks from Microsoft, like for example, David Fowler, right? I think you all know who David Fowler is. He's one of the primary architects at Microsoft. But I mean, he has just come up with his own set of tools and patterns that he uses that works for him, right? And
mm,
it's like totally different than another developer at Microsoft would use, and so there is no standardization yet. Maybe we're going to head towards something like that, but right now it's just like wide open.
yeah, yeah,
But I think the fundamentals though are that you're going to be using um, like Copilot or Claude or some kind of an LLM. You're going to be using Markdown files, so you're going to have to get familiar with constructing Markdown files to write like some of the you've written a ton of Markdown, right? Like, and
yes,
it's like a lot. It's almost like writing documentation. Like, so you've basically written a ton of documentation.
yeah. Well, I'm sure that if you ask the AI to like read it and like create a book for me, it would create a book. I
Yeah.
mean, it's been a passion of love, and it's and just I started doing it because I was having problems with getting the AI to do add mud blazer, right? So as soon as I started writing the rules, I thought, well, there's something I can be doing here, and then I started doing some research on the internet, and I saw about all this governance. This was ages ago, so I started writing these little things for the AI to prompts basically to do stuff. And then I realized that what I really need to do is to write down what Oqtane requires and how Oqtane works, and then write a rule against it. Because you need the separation because yeah, the Oqtane can tweak and the rule doesn't actually change, or the rule will change because of like a module requirement rather than an Oqtane requirement. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and this is where you can the 027 X's, the rules here. These you can create these yourself and not just pop them in. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't, the AI has no reference to the Octane playbook itself. I mean, this is how Octane plays, and this is how module plays. So that's the segregation. But the AI will reference Octane to find out, you know, what the best practices.
Right.
That's the
And
other
so
thing.
and so your playbook is more focused on rules for the conventions that are part of Octane.
Yeah.
As far as generating Blazor compatible code or .NET compatible code,
Yeah.
you don't really have to give it any instructions, right? It
No.
knows how to do that.
Yes. Yes. I mean, so it should be optimizing and all that stuff. I mean, this is the 027X's are how it should write if it's going to do some error handling, if it's going to do some date time handling, if it's going to do a migration, portability, those things. So it needs to know how to do it rather than trying to guess it.
Right.
Because that's what AI will do. It'll try and guess.
Yep.
And think it's doing the right thing. And when you
Right.
review it, it's like not.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of
Yeah.
Control Z.
All right. So I think that we're close to being at time now.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lee, for like
You're welcome.
showcasing this. I think a lot of people haven't even seen the capabilities of some of this stuff at all yet. So it takes like presentations like this, even though it's kind of hard to demo. You still get a
Yeah.
sense for like all the power of it. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I've got, I can have like 5 AI windows open, right? I've got Claude and I've got open code and blah, 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 and whatever. And what I'll do is I'll have them all referenced in the same project, and I will bung in some instructions and let it go and do its stuff. And that's it. So basically, then I think about the next prompt I'm going to write.
Yeah. So Mark, sorry, wait, that's a link to a set of skills and things that are open source as well, right?
Yeah, so there's an online community where there's a ton of folks who are doing instructions and skills and whatever for Copilot. Translates to Claude. Same, it's a different file format. And there is an Octane one that's out there.
Okay.
It was made a while back, so it doesn't have all the stuff. It was basically just made off of the Blazor one because I heard you say it knows how to do Blazor. Well, it knows how to do Blazor better if you give it Blazor instructions.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I guess
you
that's
know,
true
and
of AI in general, right? The better the instructions, the better the output. Yeah.
yeah, so there's instructions and then there's skills, but that's a place where people go put stuff. And some of the tools, it's also kind of a marketplace because you can install a Visual Studio extension that's the Copilot Claude something MCP extension. And if you say add skill, it actually goes and looks at that repo and it'll have all these skills in there.
Right.
All right.
Cool. I wanted to make I see John Beluga's on, and not to put you on the spot, John, but I want to call you out because someone that I know from Missouri, from St. Louis, was at a user group meeting last night and sent me a screenshot of a presentation you did for their user group, and it had Octane in the slides, and I guess you were talking about AI and how to use AI with Octane, and I mean, I think it's awesome, like for people to be talking
Yeah,
about this stuff.
thanks. Yeah, actually, I'll post. I recorded as a webinar. I'll put that in the chat. But I do kind of give a call out to Octane and how, with all this going on, it is important to have a platform that you're actually utilizing instead of like regenerating a login screen all the time, things like that.
But it's interesting that you say that because the argument that you see often lately is, if AI can generate code, why don't you think code's just throwaway, right? You could just rebuild a complete app from scratch every time. So why do you need a framework?
Yeah, it's silly to think that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I
You
don't
need
say
a
this. I agree
framework
with it.
because you need guardrails, right? And so the
Right.
better guardrails, the better the output. And if you guys want to, I just wanted to remind folks that there is a Discord. And so if you want to chat about this stuff between meetings, here's a link.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone. I'm gonna in the future I'm gonna try to have more like folks other than myself doing presentations. Uh, Not that I don't mind like sharing info about Octane, but I don't always have like lots of content to share. And so as long as I give people I think enough advance warning, like I think Lee wanted to present this like a month ago. So then there's enough time to prepare and you can share whatever you're doing with the broader Octane community, which is great.
Yeah. The nice thing is some people who've been using the playbook have actually come back, and there was one guy from Australia who said that he increased his productivity by three. He actually produced the module within three hours instead of 3 days. So
Yep.
that was like pretty good to hear that.
That was a pretty good benchmark that I heard last week from folks was like from days to hours, right?
Yeah.
And that's like a substantial
Yeah.
difference in output. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's getting done correctly. And that's the other thing with this. Yeah. So, you're not going to waste time undoing a lot of stuff that the AI has done for you. And when you know it's going to do it correctly, you can trust it, which is a big word to use, by the way.
Yeah. It's funny. So Daniel, you just mentioned that you'll reference it from the docs. So docs is another whole area that is being revolutionized by AI. Like you can basically point like some of these new tools at a repo and it'll generate a whole set of docs. And then like when the product changes, it'll regenerate. Like it's taken some of the grunt work out of maintaining documentation. And at some point in the future, we'll probably have to revisit like the approach we're using for documentation, as it might actually provide some benefits there, but we'll see. And that's not to minimize like all of the effort that yourself and others have put into the existing docs. There's a lot of good stuff there, so it's more a matter like how can we use the most modern tools in the future, right, to even make that easier and better.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, thanks everyone. I will publish this to the Octane channel probably later today or tomorrow. And next meeting is May 6th, I believe. That's the first Wednesday of May. So we will reconvene then. But yeah, in the meantime, like Mark said, if you want to chat about this stuff, the Discord is probably the best place. You can also post stuff in the discussions, but that's more of like an offline. If you want real-time discussion, Discord's the place to be.
Okay. Cheers, everyone.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
See it.